Oh, let's see, did I get that right? Okay, this is RuPaul's Drag Race Season 11, Episode 12, Queens Everywhere. I actually watched this last week, but we had to get our horses shoed, and then it kept snowing, and then our toddler got sick, and we had a house guest, and so now I'm like almost caught up. And I kind of know that no one watches these recaps. Well, some of you do, because I have views, but not a ton, so I apologize for being late. I am barely sleeping. My toddler last night did not sleep more than like, I think one time he slept 2 hours, but the rest of the time it was like 30 minutes to 90 minutes. He would wake up and brutally attack me. Not brutally, but anyway. There's not a lot to say about this episode. It was actually ruined for me. I do not go to subreddits or Reddits. I don't go looking for spoilers. But somewhere, I think it was Twitter, was like, here's the top 4. And so I knew from the spoiler, Vanjie goes home this episode. But I knew, and it really kind of frustrates me, because if they can't keep the finale stuff hidden even a little bit, which they clearly can't, then don't do it that way, because it's really disappointing. Why did they film it 2 days before the last episode? They could have filmed it the night of. Like, I don't know. But it's really frustrating to not even, to try to avoid spoilers. And it was 2 days before, or the day before, 2 days before this episode aired, it was spoiled for me because they did the finale stuff. But on the other hand, it wasn't a huge surprise. I personally love Vanjie. I have no problem with her. But the judging was really clear that unless she pulled out a huge win, she was going to go home. I do have to say, this episode, the one reason why I have never gotten the Silky hate bandwagon as much as literally it seems like everybody else, is that the contestants clearly have from the very beginning liked her a lot. So I am not a big fan of the editing, but I think it can sway you a little bit, which means I don't think her interviews helped her much because she was really defensive and kind of mean in them. But clearly the other contestants seem to like her. Now this episode, if Silky episode 12 had been Silky episode 2, and what I mean is if episode 2 had been like this, where she's like, you know, I reacted badly to your apology, and, you know, I wouldn't mind after the competition maybe making an effort to get to know you more. If we had seen that Silky episode 2, I would have taken down my dislike for her a little, you know, a bit. I still think she's overpraised by RuPaul, but that is not her fault. You can't blame the contestant for the judges being too soft on them, because it's completely out of their control. And like I've said before in a previous recap, I think that's the worst place to be as a queen. The worst place to be as a contestant is overrated by the judge, because then, yeah, 2 judges like you, but a million people hate you. So, and it's almost, if you're not going to win, if you're not going to be like Bianca Del Rio or Bob the Drag Queen, which in my opinion were the 2, I like Kimchi, I liked all of them, but I did not, when they won, I was like, yay, this is someone who can carry the title. Bianca Del Rio especially just blew socks off. If you can't be in that position, the second best place to be is Loved by America, and the judges are too harsh on you, because then you have this great redemption cycle. RuPaul is smart, knows how to do this. Doesn't always get it right the first time, but is quick to adjust, which is why I've never worried with the wrong drag queen. Well, I shouldn't say I'm never. I am less worried with the wrong drag queen winning the finale, because they have had the whole season to take the temperature of the room and to go, if we put so-and-so, like, Silky's not going to win. I would be shocked. I would be genuinely shocked if Silky won. Not in the sense of, oh, she doesn't deserve it, but in the sense of, that part's up to debate, that if you go on Twitter, there are some really unhappy people, and when you look at what name is going to get people to show up to the tour, having the keynote person be Silky is just not going to work. Now, if Silky was smart, she'd go and she'd get a little bit of therapy to be a little bit more open. I'm a fan of therapy, so don't think that's a slam like, oh, she needs therapy. Everyone needs therapy. Everyone on the show should go to therapy. But just a little bit to get a little more comfortable with herself, she can come back and have kind of a little bit of a redemption. It's tough. So far, the people who come back from redemption, like Fifi O'Hara and Roxy Andrews, I don't know that it's really worked for them. I definitely don't think it worked for Fifi. Might have for Roxy, I think so. So, I mean, in terms of, I was never crazy about Roxy the first time around. I was never crazy about her the second time, but I didn't hate her. I didn't like Fifi the first time around. I thought she was just as bad the second. And maybe even more so because the second time around she was like, oh, the edits hurt me. Whereas Roxy was more like, yeah, I kind of got my nose bent on a joint and focused on the wrong things. Okay, honesty. I can go with it. The editors make me look bad. I'm not interested. So, anyway, so it goes, they put Brooklyn in the bottom, and I was like, okay. I really didn't understand that choice. Now, Akaria mentioned that she is adopting her 2-year-old nephew. I believe it was her brother's son. And I was like, they should have mentioned that episode 1. I would have been a team Akaria the whole time. Because to me, being a good person is something that will win my vote. And that is, so I have a 2.5-year-old. It is unbelievably difficult to take it on, and then his attitude about taking it on, that, you know, he wants to provide and to make sure that he's a safety, you know, his nephew has a safety that maybe he was lacking, and him stepping up. I am like, this is a good person. This is someone I want to know more about. And it's not that I disliked Akaria, but for me, especially if you watch, I just kind of was like, eh. I liked Silky's appearance more than I have the whole season. I've liked her as a person more than I have the whole season. I thought the kind of honesty that she was presenting, where she was like, hey, I've been too rough. I'm reacting out of, you know, my life experiences, and I'm working on it. That's someone I'm interested in getting to know. All of the big fluff up until then, not interested. Okay, who else? I still like Evie. I still find Evie really interesting. I think that there's been, you take Evie's entrance look and compare it to what we're seeing now, and I think there is a lot of fine-tuning that has really made this from an interesting queen to a beautiful, interesting queen. I'm team Evie. Evie wins. I'm there for it. Brooklyn wins. I'm there for it. Not as much Silky, but based on this last thing, I don't have as much of a problem with her being top 4. I kind of think that they put Vanjie and Brooklyn in the bottom together, knowing that Brooklyn would win. They feel like they're done because it's such good TV for them to be a couple and to have this dance off and then have that kiss at the end. I think that might have been a production decision. I don't normally say that. I am not one of those people who's like, oh, production's screwing with things. But it makes it for such a good story. I could really see it. So there you go. I'm bummed. I've said this is kind of, if you watch my other recaps, you know that I'm building kind of on this story, which is, I think Vanjie will be fine. I think it's very likely that Vanjie will be in an all-star season and do really well. Same with Nina West. Whoever doesn't win will probably go on. My opinion is Evie and Brooklyn are really the ones into it. I think it could go either way. I think the timing's right to have a weird queen. We haven't had a really weird queen. If I would need to see all the lists. AT&T spam risk. I think I'll just miss that. Sorry, I just want to make sure it wasn't like my mom calling to say something. Anyway, I think it's time, since Jinx Monsoon. Jinx Monsoon was the last, it's not the same kind of weird. Jinx Monsoon is like campy weird. And, when I say weird, I don't mean it as a bad thing. That's not a disparaging remark. I like weird. I think it's interesting. I judge drag queens a lot of the way I would fashion, which is the more I want to look at them, the better it is. I want to see more from them. Okay, pretty, and weird is interesting. So, but Jinx Monsoon was more of a campy queen. We've had a couple comedy queens. We've had quite a few pageant queens. I'm really interested. I think the timing is right for Evie. I think they're always really sensitive to having too many white queens in a row, just because there is such a problem with racism. I don't think it's the best reason to pick a queen, but I think it's something to take into consideration. Is this, you know, would Brooklyn bring something really unique to the crown? And like she said, this week she doesn't have the same kind of personality. She's a beautiful dancer, but how often does that really come in? And does ballet really come in? Although I would love to see more of a ballet drag queen. That would be really interesting. But my vote for Evie is really because I think she has a really unique point of view and a little bit edgier. We haven't had a really edgy queen since, I would say, Sharon Needles. But I think also we have Trixie Mattel, who's not really edgy, but is also, I'm going to say weird, or a really strong point of view is a better way of saying it. So my vote is going to be for Evie. That's going to be my vote. Who I would like to see win. I think it's very even between Brooklyn and Evie. I think Ikaria might be the most beautiful, so that's kind of going, if they do I heard they're going to do the same thing they normally do, where they take two and I don't necessarily like picking the final winner just based on lip sync, because that's one small, to me it's fine to eliminate someone based on lip sync, but I've never been a big fan of, I'm even kind of okay with picking the winner from lip sync. Kind of. I don't like the whole elimination aspect in All Stars. But I'm not a fan of being like, okay, the final criteria is going to be the lip sync. I think that's why we have some things where you go, oh, so-and-so was the winner or not. I think it should be on the final accumulation of the whole season. I think it's kind of, I think my opinion would be to look at it the way you would look at like a Project Runway, where you do look at a full collection, but I think the collection should be, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, that'd be good. How should it be done? Why don't you hit me up in the comments and tell me how you think it should be done. I think you should take the entire season into, like, the high points, potentially. I think it should just be picked on who they think is the better performer at the end of the season, having seen them. And of course for the judges, having seen the whole season, because now they really can judge based on the whole season. Their interviews, how they interact with other queens, you take them on tour. I think it's worth standing back and saying, now realistically that's probably how they are doing it, but I don't like that fact that they say it's just based on lip sync. Anyway, this will be our final episode, so tell me who you think wins.